As many of you know, one of the best tracks in MX Bikes was remade recently. This is Walnut version 2 by Fat Muppet 10, which is available on the MX Bikes shop page. And Walnut V1 was one of the most popular tracks probably in the game's history. It was in just about every single lobby across the game. I feel like every time you'd go to the race lobbies, this track was everywhere to be seen, and even kind of today still sometimes shows up, but the obvious V2 track is now kind of used everywhere as well. This is a look at V1. We're going to talk about the changeover and how he went from 3 years building something that looked like this to something that he built that looked like this now, which is incredible detail. A lot of really good work that went into his second build, but the original reason why the first track was so liked and loved is because Fat Muppet is so good at building tracks that flow really well. And this, of course, Walnut is based off of Sunset Ridge MX Park, which is in Walnut, Illinois. So it's a replica track that he kind of converted into the game. And the original one, even though it was a replica, I feel like he almost leaned on the side of like a little bit more fun and less realism. And then this one, he said he went back to a more realistic scaling, realistic size of the track and the jumps and everything like that. But he still didn't lose too much fun factors. So let's talk about the kind of morph over from the original track to this one now, which I think is still one of the best kind of local cross tracks in the game. You know, there's a whole different genre for like the national tracks, supercross tracks and stuff like that. I personally have always loved when realistic local tracks make it into the game, because even if you've never ridden this track before, it kind of gives you a little sense of maybe what this track even kind of looks like in real life or rides like in real life. And for a lot of people from around the world, you don't get to see that because, I mean, Walnut isn't a track that ends up on TV, so we don't get a chance to really see what this track looks or rides like, and now we get to play it in a video game. But yeah, going back to his original release, which I think was somewhere in the middle or early of 2021, it became a track that was immediately super popular all across the race pages every single week. And yeah, like I think that Fat Muppet had always done a really good job. Like I think Farm 14 came out in 2020. He obviously released a couple other tracks kind of mixed in between all those. But I feel like Walnut was his crescendo of everything that he was doing correct at the time built into one awesome track. And I think what Walnut 1 was so good at was that every single one of the big jumps that he had on the track was super whippable, which a lot of people play MX Bikes just to throw whips. And this track had that first triple that you just saw right there, this middle table, the table after it, and then two tables, well, a table and a triple down the back rhythm section that were some of the best whip jumps in the game at the time, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, of course, there was a lot of tracks that just had massive jumps and you could throw whips off of, but in terms of like built into a track, these ones had great lips on the face of the jumps. They were long enough that they kind of all worked as well. It wasn't like any one of the jumps was unrealistically big or anything like that. Like this back table is probably the biggest jump, and it didn't feel like you were going that far. Like fourth gear on a 250, yeah, I had to hit it pretty hard, but I could even check up and still kind of scrub it. And then the rest of the track just flowed together really, really well. And yeah, like I think that jump face wise, ground wise, all that stuff, Fat Muppet was good at this 3 years ago. It's not like he developed into building amazing tracks from V1 to V2, but what he certainly did from V1 to V2 was make massive steps in, texturing the ground, using statues to his, best ability to make the track look a little bit more realistic to the actual Sunset Ridge MX Park. And then, like he said, messing with scaling so that everything still felt realistic and natural, but also had a lot of the fun factor from Walnut V1 to V2. So here's a overhead view of Sunset MX Park from 7 years ago, and I believe this is the version of the track that he used in this one here for V2. The track looks like it changes a lot. I've never been there personally, but I know a couple people who have and have ridden there, and if you even Google search image the track, the track seems like every year it's a completely different layout, and they, I think, even move the start sometimes based on some of these overhead images, which is kind of crazy because local tracks usually tend to leave the start as, planted in the ground as possible. But I think this is the 7 years ago version of the track, at least as far as I can tell. Some of the newer renditions of the track doesn't really have like the finish line straightaway that you see at the top of the hill. This middle section kind of seems to always be in there with these two big tabletops, but beyond that, it just kind of goes crazy from there. They do a lot of different sections through this back area. But I actually think the flow of this one that he built has a lot better characteristics to it than some of the newer versions that I've seen from the overhead views. I think that it was a good move of him to maybe dive back in the histories of the track a little bit and build some ones that he thought were maybe more fun than some of the newer versions of the track. But yeah, overall, he did an incredible job. The visuals of this track were amazing when it was released, and it still is obviously right up there at the top with a lot of the current tracks that are even coming out like right now with the JV aerial tracks and stuff like that. He has done a really good job of just like evolving his own style of how to make tracks and what goes into building a track, and he talks about that on the post as well. So the Walnut V2 track is actually $2. The original Walnut track is for free, but I think what this shows is when a creator like Fat Muppet evolutionizes the way that he builds tracks, he probably should be rewarded for it a little bit, you know, like not everyone that releases tracks for free ever gets people to donate or even care about the fact that they put in time and effort to the track. So I think it's fair of him to charge $2 for what is honestly an upgrade kind of across the board. Is V2 as good in the jump department? Maybe not, because he, like I said, went a little bit more realistic with the scaling, so we don't have these awesome big whip jumps anymore that V1 had, but it's better in almost every other regard. I think it probably would race better if you did it online races with your friends. I've done a couple, and they always seem to be pretty fun. This one always felt like more wide open and just like chaotic, and it was really difficult to set up passes because everyone was going so fast on the original one. The new V2 track is a little bit slower paced, a little bit more realistic, like he said, so I think it makes for better racing. Visually, obviously a massive upgrade from V1 to V2. Layout-wise, you know, he made some adjustments that some people didn't like, taking out these big back tabletop triple sections back here and stuff like that, and eliminating some of the bigger jumps out of the first couple of corners. But I think that he did the right decision to make it realistic but still have fun elements. Across the board, it's just a very, very good track. It's oddly got a 4.3 rating on MXB Shop, but I think it has like almost straight 5 stars with like 100 reviews or something on MXB Mods. So either way, I would recommend playing both tracks and kind of comparing both of them, because it's always fun to go back and relive where Bikes was, where Fat Muppet was as a track creator, and where he's come today, because it's a massive upgrade and it's a lot of fun. So check out V2 from Walnut, or on Walnut in MX Bikes Shop, and shout out to Fat Muppet for killing it with these tracks. So thanks guys for tuning in here on Start Your Systems. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little synopsis of V1 versus V2. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.